Okay. Um, so this is Darren from SimNation. A bunch of people have asked me to do a video on Draft Day Sports College Football 2021 from Wolverine Studios, and how I go about doing play calling and things like that. So I apologize for those who've asked. For those who know, I haven't been all that well, and this is really probably the first chance I've had where I feel better enough or good enough to be able to do this. SNCFL, of course, is the Banner Draft Day Sports College Football League for SimNation. Um, if you're interested in joining us, we have a Slack channel for SimNation, and you can join us there. And I'll put it inside the comments. Also, you could go to www.sncfl.us and it'll give you an idea of what teams are open and so forth. But if you're interested, definitely join us. We have a great community and a lot of really good competitive coaches in this league, as well as some really good teams that are open. Um, for right now, I what I really want to focus on is the play calling. So everybody keeps asking me to show them Maryland. I'm not going to show Maryland. Maryland is one of the top teams in the SNCFL, and it's not really going to teach you anything. So, by the way, I'm going to change my passport after this. But so I'm going to show you Texas San Antonio. So I have three teams in this league. I have Maryland, who is the monster of the league. They win titles almost yearly. They are the highest prestige team, and just generally one of the best teams in the league. And I built them up to that over time. I have Washington State, which is my mid prestige team, also another successful team out in the Pac 12. Um, I could probably show them, but I'm not going to. And then I have UTSA or Texas San Antonio, which is my low prestige team. They are absolutely horrible. They have been for the last few seasons. This season, though, I made some fundamental changes and they are flying. And of course, I don't know how long these changes are actually going to hold because we have 2022's version of Draft Day Sports College Football coming out soon. And as that looks to come out, it's going to change some things. So, word of caution. Every league is different. SNCFL actually is configured in such a way as to allow you to have pretty much complete control of your team from a play calling perspective. Not all leagues are like this. So some of the things I say here may not hold true for your league. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But what I'm going to do is kind of talk about how I go about doing things. So I'm going to start with the roster. Roster is important because, again, that's your players, right? And you need to pay attention to what your players are good at and what they're not good at. Now, in 2021, they made skill more important than it was in the past. In the past, you worried about the physical attributes, and that was all you cared about. This go round, skill means something. So you want to make sure that as you factor in all the different attributes out there, you are putting skill in its rightful place. It doesn't mean it has to be the number one, but it means that it should be up there. People with Players with low skill are going to make more mistakes. They're going to run incorrect routes. They're going to fumble the ball. They're going to get penalized, and they're just generally going to screw up. So just keep that in the back of your mind. The other thing is overall doesn't mean anything. Throw it out. It doesn't matter whether the guy has a 90 in overall if his physical attributes and his skill is horrible. Just don't look at it. Forget it exists. Um, the other thing about it is different positions have different needs. Different types of players have different needs. So you need to factor this in when you're thinking about your play calling because it's going to be very important. For instance, if you are going to throw the ball a lot, you need to make a decision. Are you going to throw it short, medium, or long? If you're going to throw it long, you need to have a quarterback who has an arm, is accurate, and is smart and has skill. That's the most important thing. And it's really arm strength first, accuracy second, intelligence third, skill fourth. Or skill is actually probably tied for second. But If you're going to throw short passes, accuracy and intelligence is going to be more important than arm, and generally try to avoid like outs and stuff like that. It's not a good idea, and I would try to avoid that if I were you. If you're going to go medium, arm factors in a little bit more, so does accuracy and so on and so forth. Now, if you're going to run the ball, speed and hands mean more to you. Speed, hands, and agility mean more to you than the other skills. So, general disclaimer, UTSA is a running team. They used to be a passing team, but I couldn't make it work because I don't have good wide receivers, so I decided to run the ball. So what you'll notice is if you look at Burgos and Garrett, those are my two mainstay quarterbacks. They both are pretty fast, 68 and 82 speed. Burgos gets the start because he has an arm, 89. He's accurate, has 90. He's kind of smart, has a 62, decent skill. He's not strong. Garrett is the better runner of the two, but he's also the worst passer of the two. So Garrett is often put in what I would call wildcat formations, where I know I'm just going to run the ball and there's no chance of throwing the ball. And because he has 82 speed, he's especially on like an option or a quarterback sprint out or sweep, he's going to do very well. Now, if I'm going to run the ball up the middle, if I were to do that, I would want him to be strong. And I would want him to have agility, and he's pretty strong and he has pretty good agility. So for running backs, so really three types of running backs it's really four, but there were three. There was an inside rusher, outside rusher, all-purpose back, and just balanced back. Balanced back means they're good in all categories. You can do whatever you want with them. But generally speaking, from a running back perspective, when you're thinking about play calling, what you're really thinking about here is what do they do well. Generally, again, skill matters a lot, but if you're going to run the ball outside, you want them to have speed and you want them to have agility. So if you look, Mark Benton is my starting running back. He has speed and agility. His hands suck. He's going to cough the ball up a lot. And intelligence factors into that. Now, a couple of you asked, why does he have arm and accuracy the way he was? He was a quarterback and I moved him to running back. So that's another important thing is before the season starts, really look at your team exhaustively. And then if your league allows it, move people around liberally. So in our league, I allow people to move from offense to defense, defense to offense. So you see a lot of, when I look at the defense, you see that people who are obviously wide receivers or running backs are playing defense because they were fast, they had good hands. Maybe their tackling isn't great, but what do I kill if I really don't want them kill if they can tackle or not, but I kill if they can pick the ball off or not. So for inside runners, you traditionally want to make sure strength and agility are high in skill with decent hands. Outside runners, you want speed, agility, skill, and hands. All-purpose back, speed, agility, hands, skill. And then, of course, balanced is all of them. Offensive line, again, it depends on what you're really going for. If you're going for pass blocking, then really you care about strength less. You care more about speed, agility, hands, and skill in pass blocking. If you're running the ball, run blocking. Now, caveat here, if you're running the ball inside a lot, then you don't really care about speed at all. You can have the slowest guy in the world as long as he has some agility, but really agility, strength, run blocking, skill are going to be your main things. But if you're going to be running the ball a lot outside, especially on option plays, you want to have some speed to your offensive line. But strength and agility and run blocking really are going to be the keys for you. Not going to go too deep into some of these. Tight end is like a wide receiver to me. But if you're looking for more blocking type, strength and blocking skills are going to matter more than if you're looking for a receiver type tight end, where speed and hands is going to matter more. Again, skills pretty important. Endurance is important in everything but offensive line. It's still important in offensive line, but the more endurance you have, the more they stay on the field. The more endurance you have, the less they get hurt. So what you want to make sure of is that at positions like running back, quarterback, if you're running, and wide receiver and tight end, and in any of the defensive players, you have decent endurance. Um, Wide receiver, I mentioned this earlier. If you look quickly, I only have a few good wide receivers, but again, for wide receiver one, you generally want that to be your most balanced wide receiver. So generally, speed, hands, agility, and skill are the most important, as well as intelligence. For your wide receiver two, which is the equivalent of a flanker, you really want your fastest guy. His hands can be okay, and you want agility because you want him to get away from people. And then again, skill for wide receiver three, that's traditionally a slot receiver. That position doesn't really need to have speed as much, more agility, more hands and skill. So the way this works for me is, generally speaking, I think Walter Jones is my flanker, Crouch is my wide receiver one or split end, and then Schoonover is my slot. And if you notice, Schoonover is really slow, but he has great hands. None of my people, they all have decent endurance. My best receiver is actually, from a skill set, is Walter Jones. I do play him sparingly, but I've had some problems with him, and I'm just still trying to figure that out. At cornerback, it really matters with hands and speed and agility and intelligence and skill. Those are the most important things for you. So how do you determine who plays cornerback and who plays nickel? Well, if you're not running a lot of nickel, put your best players at cornerback. If you're running a lot of nickel, then try to balance it out as much as possible. I tend to want to have cornerbacks in my nickel formations, especially because my cornerbacks tend to be better. But if you look here, Jimmy Lindsey is obviously a wide receiver, converted. Pretty fast, has great hands, can't tackle anybody. His agility is not quite where I want it. But Edgar Brower is another good one here, and you can tell he was actually a cornerback because his skill's pretty high. So again, skill matters, but in the secondary, except for maybe strong safety, you really want to make sure you got speed, hands, agility, intelligence, and skill. Those are the most important skill sets. Linebacker, it depends on what they're playing. So if they're playing on the inside, you traditionally want agility and tackling and strength because they're traditionally going to play a run support role. If they're on the outside, they're traditionally going to be covering people in blitzing. So you want speed and you want agility, tackling, and of course skill should be across the board with everyone. Keep in mind who is your smartest guy on the field, right? Or who has the best leadership skills. Morris Lou is not the smartest guy, but he has the best leadership skills on my team, so he's going to be my player radio, right? I'm going to call plays into him because he's a good team leader. But he's an outside linebacker. It makes sense because he's one of the faster guys I have. He's got good hands. Joshua Rogers is another outside linebacker again. Decently fast, got great hands. Not a really good tackler, but he's good in coverage and he's highly agile. And then, of course, my inside linebacker is going to have stronger tackling skills. So Ivan Jeffrey and Edward Luther are my two inside linebackers. Defensive tackle and defensive end, you got to make a decision. Do you want run support? Do you want bull rushers? Or do you want speed rushers? If the run support, traditionally you're going to focus on strength and tackling and skill. If you're thinking about bull rushing, strength, agility, and skill. If you're thinking about, of course, tackling matters with the run support. If you're thinking speed rusher, it's speed, agility, and skill. So when we talk about formations, this becomes a little bit more important because what you can actually do is you can set your formations in order to kind of leverage those plays that maximize your speed rusher, maximize your bull rusher, maximize your run support. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I mentioned secondary before. Free safety really should be the same as a cornerback. You're talking speed, hands, intelligence, skill, and agility. Strong safety, it depends on what you want. If you're going to do a lot of run support with your strong safety, and some people do, then you want tackling to be pretty high up there. You still kind of want speed because they got to get to the line. But really, speed, strength, and tackling and skill will be the most important. Versus if you're going to put them in coverage, you really want hands, speed, skill, and agility to be the predominant ones. Not going to talk about punters and kickers. That's pretty straightforward. So that's kind of the lay of the land, right? Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to figure out, do you use formations or not? So formations is part of strategy. So really what formations is when you go to your depth chart, you will have a drop down, and I'll show you real quick, that has different plays. So under package, you notice you have default, package 2 through 5. These correspond to formation. So how people do this is on offense, if you want to move wide receivers around for very specific formations, or you want to move, you maybe want to have a wildcat, let's just say shotgun 4, right? What you do is say, my default will always be this. But offensive package 2, I want to change Hill and put Ronald Garrett in. And of course, I'm going to put Everett Burgess Bill. I want to have George Kirk because he's not faster than Benton, but he's a better runner. And then let's just put Good in there because, he's better than Benton when it comes to some things. And I'll put Benton there. And then my line's fine. So I would save this package, offensive package 2. And then we'll come back to this, right? Now, here's a key thing. Every single one of these should be full, meaning that a player was in every slot. If you don't do this, it's going to create abnormalities within the game, and it's going to hurt you. So the first thing you should do in every season is go into your depth chart, and whether you use formations or not, you should copy the depth chart down, or set it for everyone if you have tons of time. That way the computer can't do it, and you do it for offense, defense, and special teams. So for defense, this is back to that bull rushing conversation. So let's just say default is my base. This is good, but let's just say defensive package 2 is my speed rush. And Dobbins is faster than these other guys. Let's just say Alexander is too. So what I would do is change that out, put Grubbs, put Pollard Dill. And then I would save this, and I'll do it for the rest. And this is my speed rush package, and let's just say defensive package 3 is my, I'm picking on defensive end, by the way, is my bull rushing, or it could even be base is your default, pass defenses is your package 2, run defenses is your package 3. So in this case, if this was run defense, I would choose all the people who are good at tackling, great in run support, probably more focused on strength and agility than other things. And then, of course, if it's pass, I'm going to focus more on speed, and I would set that accordingly. And then once you're done with that, if ever you're not sure, what you can do is look like and say, this will give you a good way of seeing who's will. Now, again, bear in mind that you're mirroring the offense, right? So whoever's on the left side of the offense from a tackle perspective is going to be up against the person on your right side, and vice versa. So just keep that in the back of your mind. So formations, you can do a lot of things here. So with packages as well, you can say, I just want to flip my defensive ends. I want to have Grubbs on the left, and I want to have Pollard on the right, on very specific play packages, because I think they're going to do something that maybe one of them is better than the other one at. Once you get all your depth charts set, you'll go to strategy. Now, this is where it becomes important to really understand who you're playing. So if you go back to dashboard, I'll just use UTEP. So I'm going to click on UTEP. And you really should do this first. Get out a piece of paper, open up an Excel spreadsheet, do whatever it is you do. But what you're looking at is, what is the record? So They got obliterated by Massachusetts. They're not a very good team. So I'll look at the Massachusetts game and see just what I can see here. UTEP is using a lot of quarterbacks. That is really strange. Maybe because the quarterback is really bad. So I'm going to look at play analysis. And what you're doing here is you're looking at what UMass did well. And you're kind of looking at these plays. And of course, you can highlight these and you can drop this into a spreadsheet. It won't tell you if a pass was completed or not, but it'll generally tell you which plays are good. So, like, if you look at this, just keep in the back of your mind, right? They ran off tackle left against 3 different defenses. It was really good against a 5-2 and a quarter, not so good against a 3-4. So I might not want to do that if I know they're running a 3-4. But what I really focus on here is the down. So this is going to be important here. The reason why I focus on this is I'm trying to figure out on defense what I'm going to do on each down. And when I show you the strategy scene, this will make sense. So what I'm noticing here is UTEP is throwing the ball on almost every single down more than they are running the ball. They are not really running the ball at all. So if I had to guess, their percentage is somewhere maybe around 15 to 20% run, and then 80 to 85% pass. So this is going to be important for me. Now, it doesn't tell me what's happening at goal line defense, but it does give me a good idea that first down largely need to go with pass. They're doing it 8 times, so what that may mean is on first and short, they're running the ball, and all the other ones, they're passing the ball. Second, same thing, and so forth. Now, the key here is because they got beaten badly, just look at those percentages and take it into context. Because they're passing the ball maybe a lot because they're constantly in second and long as opposed to second and short. So what it may mean is on second and short, they're actually running the ball. But on passing, because they're always on second and long, they're passing the ball more. So just keep that in the back of your head. I'm going to look at the most recent one because that matters more. And what it tells me is because this game is closer, I'm largely right. In short downs, they are running the ball. They're really passing the ball on long downs. So this is going to be important when I start to formulate my strategy. And again, I'm looking to see what they did well. Wide receiver post looks like it was good against the base defense. Deep out, that's a sack. So they got a couple sacks. Okay. And again, Hill, sorry, I was looking at New Mexico State. But Hill, what you see is, again, it's still the same. So now when I go to my strategy, I got to go back to my team. So now when I go to strategy, I have an idea, right? But it's not fully baked. Before I set my things, I'm going to look at game planning. And what I'm going to look at is right here. This offensive tendency tells me what they're doing in goal line. So they're passing a lot. So I'm probably going to go with a pass type defense on goal line. And it'll help me set the frequency of my blitzing. So before I go into this stuff, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look at this. And so the way I run UTSA, and this is important, is I have a run playbook on defense. I have a pass playbook on defense. I do have a general one. So if you're playing balanced, I have a playbook that's my base. It's called Alamo. I would run Alamo against you. But because it looks like they are running the ball on first and short, I'm going to change this to run defense. I'm going to change this to run defense. I'm going to change this to run defense. I've changed this to run defense. And again, if you do formations, I'll show you that in a second. Now, they're throwing the ball, so I'm going to do that. And then, of course, at the end of the game, if they're winning, if I'm winning, then I'm going to go pass. If I'm losing, I'm going to go run. And percentage-wise, I don't have great pass rushers, so I'm not going to blitz every down. I am going to blitz on pass downs that I know to be pass downs pretty much 100% of the time to try to get there, but I'm not going to really blitz on off downs. If they're running the ball a lot, don't try to blitz them. Set your blitz somewhere around 0 to 30. If it's moderate, 0 to 50, and if it's pass, 0 to 100, depending on what you're comfortable with, and everybody's different. Now, for me, I can't really tell what they do on defense on down, so this is going to be more about what I feel comfortable with. Generally speaking, because we have play calling fully enabled in this league, if you put a 1 in, it means I'm going to run every single down except for when the computer screws up and throws the ball. If you set it at 50, it's going to just largely be in the coordinator's bailiwick. My coordinator sucks. I really don't want him calling plays, but if I set a 50, what it means is he's going to go with his preference, but largely it should be 50-50. If you set it at 99 or 100, they're going to throw the ball on every single down. So that's what that means. Again, your league may be different, but in this league, for this, I don't have great wide receivers, so I really don't want to throw the ball. So I've set it to 1 because if I'm going to win, I'm going to win on the ground. I'm not going to win through the air. So, and then of course, 1 pass weight, just generally it gives you an idea, right? Now, once I do that, I'm going to go into game planning. Now, game planning matters when you talk about the playbook. I'll explain that when I get to the playbook, but generally, attitude reflects what you're doing. So if you go conservative, you're not going to go for it on 4th down very often. You're going to punt more than you're going to go for field goals or for touchdowns. If you go balanced, it's going to be a little bit in the middle. If you go aggressive, you notice teams going for a lot on 4th down. They're taking long field goals. They're doing things on defense. They're blitzing more aggressively. They are going for the pick more often. And that could yield big plays. So just kind of figure out what is your happy place and do that. Focus, what you set here will determine kind of more the type of focus on the plays that the play caller is going to call. So if you set it for run, whether it's run or pass, they are going to focus on those plays that have more of a run tag in them. So I set it to balance because, again, I want him doing what I want him to do. I don't want him doing what he wants to do because my offensive coordinator is really horrible. He has like 2 stars in offensive play calling. I wouldn't let him call plays if I had a choice at all. Tempo, again, if you're going against a very fast team who loves to throw the ball, slow the game down. So go very slow or slow. Likewise, if you're going against a rushing team or you just have a really great passing attack, go fast or very fast. Then if you're going against a balanced team, just go in the middle. I do this because I want to slow the game down to give my defense a break. Passing preference, again, this matters, is if you don't have a great quarterback with a great arm or you have slow wide receivers, go short passing preference, medium, long if you've got the others, and then, of course, balanced if you just want to run your plays. Passing targets, same thing. If you set tight end, it's going to focus on the tight end. So if you've got a great matchup, your tight end is really good. You might want to set tight end, and when they call plays, they're going to really focus on the tight end. Your primary wide receiver normally is the person you want to get the ball. So one of the tricks of the trade is if you notice that the nickelbacks suck, you'll move your best wide receiver into the slot, and then you set that person to be it, and it creates the matchup where the quarterback's always going to look to the slot, and now you have a good matchup, and it should yield you yards and maybe touchdowns. 3rd down back, you want the person who's the best all around in that place. I don't set that for this team because I'm going to run on 3rd down. So I want my best running back on the field for 3rd down, and that's going to be bet. Running focus, again, here you can choose to go inside, outside, power, so on. I leave it balanced because I just want my playbook to be called. I don't want the computer deciding anything, which plays it's going to do and which ones it's not. Running back role, again, I set that as mixed, but if you just want them running the ball, set that as running, which means that your running back really isn't going to be in the pass game that often. I don't do backfield by committee. I know some teams do, but that's if you have a lot of good running backs and you just want to cycle them in and out. Tight end role, I know a lot of people run mixed. I run catching. My tight ends suck at blocking. I don't want them blocking. Tuck and run means that if the quarterback is in trouble, what is he going to do? If he's a drop back passer and he's slow and he maybe get hurt easy, you probably want to set this to never or rarely. My quarterbacks, the moment there's any problem, I want them running. So I set it to often. And then defense is the same thing here, is whether you're going to focus on the run or the pass, what type of coverage schemas you're going to run. You'll notice on a lot of these that I normally will choose mixed or balanced, mostly because I don't want the CPU coordinator choosing types of plays. I want it to run my playbook. So a lot of these settings here will deal with frequency of what you'll see called out of the playbook. Because I was going against Cincinnati in my pass game, I focused on the pass. Because UTEP seems to like to throw the ball, I'm going to do the same thing here and just keep it. Again, Lou is my best team leader. He's somewhat intelligent, so I'm going to make him the radio. Always uncheck this box. Don't check that. It's just a bad idea. I know why it's in the game, but it causes people more grief against passing teams than they should. So just uncheck match quarterbacks to wide receivers. Lineman coverage, leave that at balanced if you can help it. And now target player, and I call this the Skelter setting, right? Target player is when you're playing against a team and they have a really good wide receiver, a really good running back, and you just want to target that player all game long. So when I play passing games, like last week against Cincinnati, I could have actually targeted the number one wide receiver. I chose not to. But when I play Skelter, I target his running back. And then I hope that he doesn't get hurt, because if he gets hurt, it doesn't bounce to the next guy. It just will stay on that person, and then he'll just trounce me. Winning, I don't do overrides. It creates lopsided scores, and if you get one of those, I apologize. I just don't do it because I don't want the computer making decisions for me. So here's the formation thing I mentioned before. So, like for instance, UTSA runs out of shotgun or the spread only. They don't run any other formation. So here, if I wanted to say that I wanted a wildcat formation on 2, or let's just say I want my running plays to all come out of the spread, then I would go here, or let's just say shotgun. So offensive package 2 is run. I only want to run the ball out of that. And then let's say I only want to throw the ball out of shotgun 4. Then I would just set that. And then it would do that. And then if with the spread, I'm trying to find it. I want that to be my base and I want it to alternate, then I would set that to 1. And then of course that corresponds back to that packages you saw on depth chart. And then the same thing for defense. And again, just make sure you focus that this is all running, this is all passing. So make sure you focus on that. And then the same thing for here, where you would say, I want my bull rushers on, maybe I want to say I want my rush defense to be 4-3, 3-4, and 5-2. So I would set this to be defensive package 2. And then I'll do the same thing. And then let's just say I want this to be my passing. I would do that. And then of course if you're doing bull rushing, speed rushing, you just correspond it. So, and that's what a lot of people do. And then of course I would say the same thing here. This is less than 6, but maybe what I want to say is I want to go, if it's less than 6, I want them to switch over to a rushing, even though it's nickel and dimes mostly, but maybe that's what I do. But make sure you invalidate that out. You can't have like different numbers, right? So I'm sorry, it has to equate. You can't like have 1 and 1. It just, well, you could, but just make sure, because the more you put in, then you notice it's actually telling you how often. So this would be a third at a time, a third at a time, a third time. Or I want this to always be, and then of course you can throw in 2s, 3s, whatever. But let's just say it's that. So that's formations again. Now playbook, this is the one that's important to me. I'm not going to show you my playbooks, by the way. But let's just say tear up and pass. I've showed this playbook before, so I'm comfortable with it. Each week, what I'm looking at in this playbook is what is working and what is not. So generally speaking, if it's a pass I want it to be somewhere between 2 to 5. If it's more than 5, it's not working for me, or if they're scoring touchdowns all the time. So dime-based DB drop middle, bad play, get rid of it. Now, again, bear in mind what your league allows. So in our league, you have to have 10 defensive plays. On offense, you have to have 10 rushing, 10 passing. So make sure that you stay within that. And again, what I would say is over the course of the season, if you are noticing, if you're well above 10, just drop plays, don't add plays. Now, if you drop below 10 and you need to get above 10, then find plays that are similar to the ones that are working for you and add those before you start to go off the reservation. Generally speaking, I will tell you don't do frequency. Leave them all at 1. The reason is in 2021's version, the computer will start to focus on those plays that are working more, that you are running more. So if you start putting 4s and 3s and stuff in here, it's going to notice that, and it's going to start keying on those plays. You're going to notice it start, a law of diminishing returns happen almost immediately. So if you set it to 1, you're largely not going to see that problem happen. The other thing is less is more. Don't have tons and tons of plays. Find the ones that are working the best. Try to stay close to what your bottom limit is. Unless you have a really good coordinator. If you have a really good coordinator, you can probably get away with it. But if you don't want that coordinator to have a lot of options, because the more options they have, the more likely they're going to screw it up. So in this case, I have a pretty decent defensive coordinator. I'm fine with him doing it. But what I'm looking for here is DB all-man good, DB cover 3 good, DB slots kind of on the borderline, zones good, press good. I'm looking for those things. Blanket, not kind of doing what I want it to do, so it goes, spies goes, roll left goes, and then I'm going to leave the rest. And I have 14, so I'm still 4 over, so I don't need to make a change still. And then we'll finish it. We'll look at run defense. You notice it's mostly 3-4, right? With some nickel in there. I'm going to look at this and just say, okay, this one definitely needs to go because it's way out of whack. Again, when you're talking about running, anything less than 3.5 is probably good. Optimally, anything less than 3. Anything above 3.5, you just don't want to be in. You don't want to be, though. You want to get rid of that. So that's good. I have 11 plays. I don't need to add anything. Now, I'll show you beep beep. That's one of my playbooks. It's an older one, but what I would look for here is running plays, anything above 3, you kind of want to keep. Anything under 3, kind of want to ditch. Pass plays, anything under, if it's a short pass, anything above 4 is good. If it's a medium pass, anything above 6 is good. If it's a long pass, anything above 7 is good. So these plays are good. And if you notice, I'm cherry picking, right? Different things. So as the season goes by like this, that's weird. Huh. That is weird. We'll just choose a different one. Okay. So this isn't working for me. I'm going to ditch it. This isn't really working for me. I'm going to ditch it. And again, looking at the numbers, right? Not working for me. Actually, here's the thing. If it's less than 2 or 3 plays and you think it's going to work for you, keep it. Wait until see what happens, because I only ran this once and it was obviously an incompletion. So I'll keep that in for now, but I'm going to watch it. These are good. These are good. That has not worked for me at all, so I'm going to ditch it. And again, I'm looking at these numbers, right? And then once you go through and you do all of that, you should end up with a playbook that is really solid. And that should be your playbook. Now, the key is, as you're calling these plays, make sure that you are putting them in the right scenarios. So if you notice that when we go back to that play calling screen for UTEP, UTEP's defense doesn't do well on first down. or you can pass the ball better against them on first down, then you would say, okay, I want to go with a more pass-centric offense, if that's what you do. And there are a lot of people who do these. This is my pass packages. These are my run packages. It doesn't really work in this league because we do mandate that you have to have 10 pass plays, 10 rush plays. In some leagues, they have where you can have really just 10 plays, right? We don't do that. You have to have 10 and 10. So it kind of kills that ability. But what some people do to get around it is they just simply say, I'm going to have 10 pass plays and 10 rush plays, but I'm going to set the frequency of my pass plays at 3 or 4 and the frequency of my run plays at 1. That way I never do it. Or they set it to this where they have the 10 run plays, but essentially they're only running the ball because it's set to 1. And what you can do is, if you want to, is, I mean, if I wanted to, I could actually say keep this because I like all my plays, right? But this is 100. And what that now means, let's make that 99. What that now means is it's only going to run the pass plays. It's not going to run the run plays. So even though I have 10 and 10, it's going to focus only on my pass plays. So that's one way to get around it. So that's kind of the lay of the land. So kind of in summary, roster means a lot. You want to make sure your depth chart matches what you're trying to do. Formations is a great way to ensure that you have the right people on the field for the right scenarios, whether that's run or pass defense, whether that's having bull rush, speed rush, or run stop packages on defense, or in the case of offense, whether you put a quarterback who can run the ball better on the field for short yardage situations. Maybe you want to have 2 tight end sets or different things like that, or you want to have an option package. You can use formations to do that. Just choose the right package, remember that package, and then ensure that when you go into formations, you set that appropriately. The play calling, really, you should look at what is working for you, what is working for your opponent. So make sure you use that play analysis on your opponent's last game or last few games. Look and see what is, and then allow that to dictate kind of what you set here for the down, because that's important. And then for your playbook, make sure you're looking at the plays and how well they're doing. Trim off the ones that are not doing well, keep the ones that are. If you need to add, look for similar ones, or look at what was run well against that opponent, and then add those plays. It doesn't universally mean it's going to work for you. And then just keep doing that throughout the season, and what you'll find is that you will do pretty well. If you're just starting, you're not going to have any of this. So we're in week 3. I already have good analytics. I know what's working, what's not for me. But if you start the season and you're brand new, generally speaking, if your running backs fit the mold of an inside running game, make sure you're running off tackles, make sure you're running counters. Those are traditionally the 2 strongest inside rushing games. Maybe do draws if you're going to throw. Outside sweeps and pitches. The option game in this game is really, really good. So think about that. I now use the option a lot. I actually really think that they did a great job with Wolverine Studios with the option game. I play ball-bound college football, and you just cannot run an option. It sucks. Versus Hill, you don't even need to run a wishbone. You can actually run out of a lot of different packages. So great job to Brooks and great job to Asker on that. They've done a phenomenal job, though. And then I think the other thing about it is, so when you're starting outside, make sure your running backs have like the speed, the hands, the agility, the skill. Inside, make sure they have the strength, the agility, the skill, the hands. And then for passing attacks, make sure if you have fast wide receivers who have decent hands, and you might want to go with a long passing game, especially if your quarterback has an arm. If he doesn't, then go with a short game. So just make sure you're factoring those into the plays that you call. So if you're looking at passing, if it's a long game, look at things like posts, streaks, flies, those type of things. If you're looking at short game, look at comebacks, look at core flats, look at short outs, short ends, um, skinny post, those type of things. And what you'll do is you just keep reiterating that playbook, and over time, what you find is that you're winning games and you're doing much better. Now, the key caveat is it's really easy to guess what the opponent's going to do when you play against a human in this league. Just watch out for the unexpected, because like everyone expects me to run the ball, but I've beaten a couple of really good coaches because I was like, well, they think that I'm going to run the ball, so I'm going to throw it. And if I can get away with it with Maryland, I can get away with it with UTSA. Probably can't. But it does work. I mean, I used this methodology with Cincinnati. Cincinnati was ranked number 15, and I beat them 55-16. So just think about these things, and don't be afraid to ask questions. In a future one, I'll talk about recruiting. I'm not going to talk about it now, mostly because the 2022 version is coming out soon, and recruiting is going to change again. But again, like I mentioned before, when you do recruiting, recruit the players for your system. So if your system is an option attack, recruit the players that best fit that. Don't just go for the highest rated players, because it's not going to really work for you. Recruit the players who fit your mold. So if you want run blockers, focus on the run blocking skills. Focus on the strength. Focus on the agility. Focus on the skills. Focus on that stuff. If you're going to pass, then focus on pass blocking if we're talking linemen. And talk about speed and talk about agility and hands. Those are the things that matter. So again, just really create a system, stay in the system, recruit for the system. And what you'll find is as you tweak these playbooks over time, you'll be in really good shape. The other thing just to watch is under training. And a lot of coaches don't do this. This is a very important one. If you want someone to improve over the season, what you want to do is make sure that these three fields up here are always populated. And what you want to do is go back to staff, and then you want to go to profile, and you want to see what they do well. Jerry Simmons, he kind of sucks. But youngsters, skill positions, that's really running back or wide receiver. So I'm going to have him mental Benton. Malcolm Boston, I talked about him. His offensive skills really suck. But there's a story there for a different time. But he's good with quarterbacks, so I may have him mentor a quarterback. And then Corey Yarbrough, again, he's an internal hire. He's slightly better, but what I noticed here is he's good with defensive line. So when I go back to training, what I'm going to try to do is match that up. So Benton is the young running back I'm trying to make better. I don't really know about having him mentor my quarterback, so I have him mentoring the tight end right now. But in realities, if I was doing this correctly, I would find Burgos and have him mentor Burgos. And then, of course, he'll... I've been having him focus on Browell. But what I would do is maybe say, find the freshman. We'll just say Pollard's a freshman. He's not. But I would have him do that. And then, of course, down here, you notice I've set my weeklies. Schedules. Just make sure you're doing that throughout the season. So that's it for now. I'll do some more videos over time, but I thank you all for being patient with me while I got better. Hopefully this helps. If it doesn't, feel free to ask questions on the site. Join our Slack. We have a Discord too, so I'll put all that information in the video text. But at the end of the day, ask questions. I'll answer them as best as I can, and then I'll make some more of these videos. But if you're interested in SimNation leagues, we have a lot of different leagues covering from soccer to basketball to football, both college and pro. Great community. Definitely look us up. And then if you want to join SNCFL.us, we'll show you the teams. And then just let me know which team and we'll get you added. We sim on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And that's both the ball-bound college football leagues as well as the Draft Day Sports, college football. I think the soccer league is on the same schedule as well. Whereas the Pro Football League, WWPF, is actually on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. So that's it for now. Hopefully you find this helpful. If you do, drop a like or subscribe and follow. But otherwise, I will talk to you all again soon. Thanks.